Yeah, that won't get you an A though, but I can see you guys, so I'm watching you. So a few shout outs before we get started with the really awesome presenters this period. First of all, I always like to thank the people who make Writers Week happen, and that's Gina Enck and Russ Anderson. So a huge hand, my good friends, Mrs. Enck, Mr. Anderson. I always have to make sure we do a shout out for people near and dear to my heart, the tech crew up there. So thank you, tech, so much. And also tech crew and Mrs. Klingner and Mr. Crash, who are in charge of tech crew. And if any of your parents are boosters, please go home and hug them hard, because we can't do Writers Week without the boosters' support as well. So thank your parents too. And then the last people I always like to give a shout out to you guys is you all, because if you guys didn't love and care about Writers Week and come here and learn all sorts of nifty cool things, I've seen some amazing students read earlier today that really moved me. So without you all, we wouldn't be here either. So give yourselves a round of applause as well. So, speaking of friend students, because this is our 25th year of Writers Week this year, we have a few periods like this during the week where we have friend faculty who are reading, which is always a thrill. But there's a special thing about the people sitting behind me. Not only are they friend faculty, but they are former friend students. I know, who would have thought? And they, I'm assuming, sat out where you are now at some point in their lives when we had Writers Week going, and now are participating in it for you all. So I'm pretty excited because I will admit that a couple people sitting behind me were either a former student in class or a former student who worked on tech crew. Who might that be? So I'm pretty excited that they're sharing their writing with us today. So I'm going to shut up and get out of here. And first of all is Natalie Soto.
Hello, I'm from the class of 95, which makes me, I graduated before you were even born, which is rather disgusting. And I'm also the oldest up here, which is also a little annoying, but I digress. So here we go. I hate chemistry. Like, really hate it. This has nothing to do with balancing equations, although I still sometimes dream of them and wake up in the middle of the night screaming. Or the fact that my teacher broke a world record in how fast he lost the class on the first day by showing us his resume on the overhead projector while reading it to us line by riveting line in a voice that made monotone sound animated. He's not here anymore, so it's okay. Or the fact that it had a lot of math, which I also hate. Or even the fact that it severely messed with my OCD that had manifested itself not in meticulous room cleaning like my mother had hoped, but in a hypochondria that did not at all jive with the poisons that must surely be contained in each and every drop of chemical that we got near. My fear of having to use the eye wash stations only to go blind anyway was nothing compared to my concern that I would fall back into the compulsive hand washing that left my hands chapped and bleeding in junior high. Okay, so I may have lied when I said my hatred of chemistry had nothing to do with those things, but I think the real reason lies in the fact that my single most embarrassing high school moment happened within the four walls of that chemistry room. Back then, science was located in the hallway where the math department is today. In fact, my chemistry classroom was what is now the math office, and it had a very different configuration. Instead of a traditional classroom, it was a mini lecture hall. There were 5 larger steps up to the top of the classroom. On each step, there was a row of individual desks. So you could move your desks around to work with partners, but you had to navigate the steps while making your groups. And this is how it all began. The day of my most embarrassing high school moment, we had a sub. I was pretty happy about finally having a teacher who talked to us in completely impromptu sentences, using crazy things like inflection and intonation. However, though vastly more talented socially than our regular teacher, it was clear that she was less gifted in the chemistry department. Instead of a normal lecture, we were instructed to get into groups to work on exercises in the back of the chapter. I didn't have any close friends in the class, but I quickly got in a group of other students who were conscientious and who I hoped knew slightly more about chemistry than I did. Not that that would be difficult, since the classroom chalk also fit that description. I moved my desk to join up with a group on the 5th step of the lecture hall. We were a group of 3, and my partners were on the step above me facing the chalkboard as I sat one step below with my back facing the board. We plodded along at a decent pace until we were finally stumped by question 24. Wanting to finally prove myself useful to the group, I volunteered to go ask the teacher a question. As I got up to perform my altruistic duty, I slid the back leg of my chair just off the edge of the step. Since friend desks are essentially educational bear traps, the momentum of the backward falling chair forced me to sit down again. My arms began to flail like propellers as I frantically reached for anything that would stop my downward trajectory. I panicked as I felt only air around me before I managed to grab onto something solid. 2 somethings, to be accurate. Unfortunately, those 2 somethings were other desks. 2 other desks, actually. 2 vacant desks that were, like mine, not bolted to the floor. This move ensured that I would not only fall spectacularly, but that I would make as much noise as humanly possible and alert every eyeball in the classroom to my descent. Now, mind you, my butt never left the chair, and I managed to do a complete 1.5 backflip that would make Simone Biles jealous, down each and every one of those stairs before landing perfectly in my seat on my back and looking at the ceiling. If the clattering desks that made their way down after me didn't do enough to draw everyone's attention to me, then the ear-piercing scream of the substitute teacher, who surely thought her career was over because a student died on her watch, finished that job. My tailbone hurt, but not nearly as bad as my pride, as my classmates started holding up signs with the number 10 on it, rating my gymnastic performance. Red-faced, I peeled myself from the chair and tried to make myself even more invisible than usual in chemistry. That proved more impossible than balancing equations. Eventually, like all things do with the passage of time, my wounds healed. My tailbone soreness slowly dissipated along with the embarrassment, which actually may have taken a bit longer. I would go on to other falls and mishaps, and none of them ever were quite as traumatic because I'd become desensitized by the chemistry incident. So that's a good thing, I guess, because I fall a lot. I escaped chemistry that year with a B and a great story. Needless to say, I decided I would retire from science after that year. I guess I couldn't just take the next level of embarrassment, or all that science-y stuff. So I never went on to physics, even though that day I'm fairly certain I was an outstanding example of multiple physics theories as I hurtled down the steps of that classroom. Thank you. Up next, Mike Crash.
Thank you. All right. My senior year, 20 years ago, Mr. Sampson, an English teacher who retired a few years ago, was really into poetry slams and took 3 of us seniors down to a bar in Lincoln Square to compete in a poetry slam. I have for you today the 2 pieces I read at that poetry slam. Do you know what slam poetry is? Good, this is bad. All right, here we go. The heart beats with the rhythm. That's hard to define. I said the heart beats with a rhythm. That's hard to define. Love draws me this way. There you go. And then that way. And then this way, and then that way, and then this way, and that way, and this way, and sometimes I lie awake in bed and listen to my own heartbeat. Feel my own heartbeat. Hear my own heartbeat. Feel my own heart beat. I think and I worry and I increase the tempo. What about money, I say. What about job, I say. What about love, I say. What about life, I say. What about life, I say. What about life, I say. What about my own heartbeat? What about my own beat heart? What about me? So what about me? What about me? Oh my, oh please heart, don't beat so loud and hard that I can't see or feel or hear anything but my own beat heart. My own heartbeat, my own lost love, my own lost life, my own loss. Sometimes I lie awake in bed and wonder how other people's hearts beat. Does Louis Armstrong's beat heart beats? Can my heart beat with the same love and life and Louis? If my heart beat Louis, would I be Louis? If my heart beat lovely, would I be lovely? If my father's heart stopped beating, would he stop beating? Sometimes I lie awake and listen for any change in the rhythm, a palpitation, anything different from the norm. Occasionally, there is a flutter that lets me know everything will be all right. A quick note on that. My father's the sweetest guy I know, would never raise his voice to me, let alone a hand. I just wrote that because I thought it was edgy. All right, that got me to the second round, by the way, thank you. All right, here we go. Second piece, dark and also untrue. Here we go. The question is, God says to me over a quick game of Monopoly before the real fun begins. The question is, he repeats, did you love her? He refers, of course, to my daughter, Noelle. Yes, of course, raising one fine-eyed or infinite eyebrow at me as he continued, but did you love her? Now he refers to Sarah, her mother. I was kind of hoping you could tell me. Sarah, what a pretty girl. Her eyes were a light hazel, and I just wanted to hold that pretty girl. Such a pretty, what a pity that such a pretty girl ends up with such a well. We met, Sarah and I, and Kendra. To quench that insatiable thirst, did I have a thing for Kendra first? Me, myself, and I never had a place in Kendra's heart. She had it bad for a tall Jamaican lad who went by the nomenclature Pete. But did I have a thing for Kendra first? The answer is yes, but I digress. Sarah looked at me and told me, so cold we sat in the empty parking lot of a Montgomery ward, all that we could afford. She gave me the truth. No one has ever showed me the truth like she did. She said to me months earlier, I love you, Michael. Tell me that you love me too. I do. But I was confused and I felt used, and a very large voice inside of me screamed, no! But it was too late. The day I knew I was not in love was the first day that we made love, quote unquote. Hate me, loathe me, do, but it only gets worse from here. You know, I came to find out many years later that making love is very different than a 16-year-old destroying the world. Sarah and I, because when I call Sarah she, it makes it easier for me and kills her, Sarah, a little more. Sarah and I sit on the concrete fire-laying curb, cold enough to freeze her, but her hair still pours out of the top of her head, down past her ears, and mixes with the plaid of the flannel jacket that covered her knees, which were tucked in a quasi-fetal position. That is, of course, the fetus is sat on cold curbs and empty parking lots on a regular basis. I don't know. I'm telling her that I understand everything she is going through, and true, I don't think this is the right time or place or face or situation in my frustration, but I say, giving her a look, telling her all too convincingly, the phrase about to graze my lips is on the other side of the cosmic grocery store from the 2-for-1 pyramid-style display of the item of the week, the truth. But I support you in anything you want to do. Bold-faced lies! With which my eyes did not cooperate. They screamed, please don't do this to me! Which is exactly what my brain was thinking. She knew. Her heart broke when I spoke because she knew that she wanted me more than she wanted she. I keep telling Sarah that I understand Sarah, that I know what Sarah's going through, that I am here for Sarah. She looks at me and she says, look into my eyes, and I do. Her eyes like two hazel balloons held there by strings of cheers running down and held by her chin. Look into my eyes, and I do, and I can see right inside Sarah. And I see a soul seeming to semaphore signals from the subterranean stretches of Sarah. And then another one. This one's name is Noelle, it tells me, and if Noelle may be so bold, she loves me. I love you too, I tell Noelle. This time in complete honesty, not even knowing if souls can lie. Look into my eyes, and I do. And I know that Sarah is about to show this ignorant boy the truth. Look into my eyes and realize that you don't and will never understand how I feel. And I do. And she's right. I can't ever understand. That was the only time I or anyone else ever spoke to Noelle. We went to a guy. Why? Because we knew someone who knew a guy who could do it. Everyone does. We wait. Sarah, Noelle, and Michael. Sarah, Noelle, and Michael. Sarah, Noelle, and Michael. Sarah, Noelle, and Michael, and the guy. Then just Michael. Just before she left, I touched her arm. In a moment of hesitation, anticipation, she turned to me and silently begged me to grab her and run. To tell her I'd changed my mind, kind words. Tell her she didn't have to do it. But the words that left my mouth were, look into my eyes. And she does. I love you. I mean it. For the first time. I don't think she knew, but I do. She disappeared behind the door, and I stared at the floor, and that was the last time I ever saw Sarah. Am I a bad person, a slime, a crime, a terrible creation that should have been stopped before put into rotation? Yes, and I can only guess what is thought of me and what I can see. But to answer your question, God, yes, I love Sarah. Okay, $47. Excuse me? You landed on Ventnor Avenue? I own Ventnor Avenue. $47. Oh yeah, thank you. Next up is Katie Giggler.
I'm a little shorter. I'm class of 03. So I'm probably going to be the downer of the group. I'm not that witty, and so if I were to tell you high school stories, they'd probably be like high school for me, which was pretty happy, fairly awkward, and uninteresting for anyone except for me. As I was trying to figure out what I wanted to read today, I decided on something that I had already written because I wanted to give you an idea of what writing was like in my life. Unfortunately, life does not afford me lots of time to write between 2 kids, teaching, coaching, and normally my writing is updates about kids to accompany pictures or journaling when we travel. But this is a piece I actually took some time for. You see, 3.5 years ago, my grandfather passed away on my 30th birthday. We knew it was coming. He had been in hospice care for a couple of weeks and had been declining. He had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's 16 years earlier, and while he had responded very well to medications and his decline was slow, his bad days were really outnumbering his good days. And he wasn't really himself anymore. So in a weird way, him passing was a blessing. At his service, the grandkids were asked if they wanted to share anything. This piece helped me remember who my grandfather actually was, and helped me grieve. So this is what I'm going to share with you, and this is what I shared on that day. My grandfather was a passionate man. On the surface, his passions were clearly about cars, the lawn, and getting rid of those chipmunks, golf, and the lake. But on a deeper level, all of those trace back to his deepest passions, which was for his family. As my mom and I were going through pictures for the boards, we came across one of my grandpa with the man he would golf with in Arizona every February. My dad laughed and commented on how much he would always look forward to that trip and would have extended it even longer if my grandmother would have allowed it. You see, golf was one of my grandfather's favorite things. If you were looking to get him anything, a golf shirt, a golf book, a golf video, a golf magazine, they were all hits. And he was famous for his 2-ray Love Ray golf club every single Christmas morning. But more than that, he loved to share his passion with his family. I'm pretty sure he preferred golfing with my brother, who took the game seriously and still enjoys playing to this day. But he always made sure to take me as well. I would try the first few holes to listen to the advice, but eventually I'd get frustrated, and my grandma and I would spend more time during the round giggling than really trying. It probably drove him crazy, but he kept taking me along because he wanted to share one of his favorite things with all of his grandkids. Sharing things you love with those you love bonds you in a special way. He also loved to pass on his knowledge about dancing. My grandmother was his favorite dance partner, and I would love to have seen them in their dancing prime. knowing how he was able to get me, who has no dancing experience whatsoever, to spin. I can only imagine what a beautiful thing it was when the two of them got together, before her back got bad and her balance hindered the experience. As years progressed, he tried to pass this skill on to all of us. The morning after my brother's wedding, he woke up and was very concerned because his legs were so tired and sore. He claimed he hadn't even danced that much. But when we went back to the photographic evidence, I'm pretty sure we found pictures of him dancing with at least 10 different women from our family. For the lessons, I was a much better student than during golf, even if the advice sometimes seemed like it contradicted itself. Keep your arms firm, but loose, so that I can lead you, he would always say. Firm, but loose? What? Don't worry, Gramps. I think I've finally figured out what you meant. You have to trust your partner, but still remain yourself. At my own wedding, I wanted to make sure we got to dance. It was something I always looked forward to at family weddings, because it brought back the memories of him teaching me in my parents' living room. I asked the DJ to play Mac the Knife. It was his favorite swing song, and I hadn't told him that we were going to be doing this. He wouldn't have remembered anyways. So when he called my grandpa out onto the dance floor, you could see how excited he was, and he was just honored. Spinning and working through his trademark moves was one of my favorite memories of my wedding, one I will always treasure. Now, while all these passions do trace back to family and will be things we remember fondly, the thing I'm most thankful for was his passion for my grandmother. He would refer to her as his bride. Even after 67 years of marriage, he spoke as they were newlyweds. Together, the two of them built the beautiful family and taught us the importance of having each other. Together, they made sure we would always have fun at family outings. When I was growing up, I could never understand why people didn't enjoy going to family events. My friends dreaded it at times. I always looked forward to them, and I realized later on that it was due to the effort my grandparents put into it. No matter what curveball life threw at them, they faced it together. And while I'm sure there were some distractions at times, they had 4 kids, one who was born 11 years after the other 3, owned an independent grocery store, and he ran his own business. They always put each other first. They were an inseparable unit. It was the best thing they could have done for this family. They are my role models for my own marriage, and I hope to live up to the passion that they have shown to one another. So Gramps, while we will miss you dearly, thank you for all the lessons. I promise I was listening and loving our time together. Enjoy getting to dance without your legs hurting, and I hope you're golfing in the low 70s. This time, I actually mean the score, not the weather. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Sponsel.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing. I was on my way here today, and I was coming down Quentin Road, and I was speeding to get here, and I got this. Speeding ticket. So it started off my 6th hour just phenomenal, and as I was racing down, turning right onto Quentin Road from Palatine Road, and I noticed the lights on me from behind, I pull the car over, and the officer walks up, and I roll down the window. And the officer says, "Sir, do you know why I'm pulling you over today?" And I said, "Sir, do you know why you're pulling me over today?" And he said, "Excuse me." And I said, "Do you know the real reason you're out here patrolling Quentin Road during 5th hour lunch?" He said, "Enlighten me." And I said, "The real reason you are out here patrolling is because of Trash Can Derby 96. And he said, "What is Trash Can Derby 96? I said, "Well, it took place my senior year. And Trash Can Derby was a senior named Adam decided to borrow Tim's car and take it out at lunch. But this was no normal car. This was a 1978 Lincoln Continental. over 19 feet long, 10 feet wide, of pure, heavy, high-grade steel. And Adam's goal during lunch hour for Trash Can Derby was to see how high he could get the speed of the car, take it down Quentin Road and through every neighborhood street in the area of Fremd, and take out every single trash can, recycling bin, and lawn waste bag possible. And he comes back after his first hour of Trash Can Derby 96, actually Trash Can Derby 1, and he said 42. And word spread quickly throughout the halls of Fremd in 6th, 7th, and 8th period. And by the second time, 2 days later, Trash Can Derby 2 was taking place, but this time Bill and George were adding in. So you can throw in a couple minivans and other cars to join the 1978 Lincoln Continental. And you can imagine, there were triple the demolishing garbage cans, lawn waste bags all over Palatine. Well, it didn't take more than a couple days, and there were about 8 to 10 squad cars patrolling Quentin Road, Hunting Ridge, and about every neighborhood street in the area of Fremd that a student would go during lunch hours. And the officer looked at me after I filled him out in the story and he said, well, did they catch him? Nope, they never got him. We might not have got him, but we got you today. Have a nice day, here's your speeding ticket. So I got that going for me. And then another, I think it was earlier this year, a couple months ago, I had a student come into class who had gotten busted for vaping. And pull him aside, he was pretty upset, and I said, do you know the real reason you got caught for vaping? And he looked at me, he's like, Mr. Sponsel, what are you talking about? I said, the real reason you got caught. Do you know why? And he said, no. I said, you got caught because of Parking Lot Palooza 96. And he looked at me and was like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, back in 96, my senior year, it was May, and it was about a month left to go in school, and the seniors were done. And so one of our seniors decided to get the senior class and the whole class out of school for an extended period of time. So what he would do is he would detonate a military-grade smoke grenade in the centermost area of the school during the second half of the day, and it would fill the school with 130,000 cubic feet of smoke, and we would all be out in the parking lot while they cleaned out the school during a fire alarm. Well, a single fire alarm turned into days of fire alarms, days turned into weeks, 2.5 weeks to be exact. And during those 2.5 weeks, as a student, you knew, do not go out the back doors, because the back parking lots, they were boring. The front parking lot was where the action was. Full-blown tailgating during that last month of school for about 2.5 weeks. Music, dancing, frisbees, grills and pickup trucks. And from a senior that was checked out, that was the place to be. And so after about 2.5 weeks, the staff couldn't figure it out who it is, and it was second period, Mr. Donatucci's weight class. And Tooch called out, hey Stan, come here. Stan walks up, what's up, Tooch? Hey Stan, did you hear? No, what's going on, Tooch? They caught the guy. No way. Yeah, they caught him last hour. Oh man, Reynolds' mom's gonna kill him. Thank you very much. And sure enough, about an hour later, Mr. Reynolds was busted. So the next year, we had security cameras installed. So that was the real reason. So my question to you is, do you know why you're a Fremd Viking and you're different? The real reason you're a Fremd Viking and you're different. Yes, your parents bought a home in the Fremd boundaries, probably because of the high test scores, the AP classes, and the top-notch academic rigor. But I got news for you. There are tens of millions of people with high test scores and impressive academic resumes. There are only 35,000 Fremd Vikings out there. And Fremd Vikings are different, not because of the test scores and the academic rigor. Fremd Vikings are different because of the people in the building and the people that came before you in this building. While the faces, the test scores, the standards, they all change, the high quality type of person in this building does not change. You are not your test scores. You are not your GPAs. You are not your social media accounts. You are not the clothes you wear or your social status. You are the very person sitting in your seat. You are the person that chooses to reveal certain parts of your life and conceals. You are who you are. So you are special the exact way you are, as is. You add to friend every single day, just as the other 35,000 people added to this school in the years that came before you. So I'm not advising you to ignore your academic rigor or not rock your AP exams. I'm also not advising you to go out and play trash can derby at lunch. Now, I'm not advising you to detonate military-grade smoke bombs in the middle of the school. What I am advising you is to really take time and enjoy the special people in this building during your time here. You will not get these years back. These years, guys, with these people are some of the greatest you will have, and you are around some of the best people I've seen in my life here in the halls of Friend. You are the reason Friend is special. Take time to connect with each other, take pride in being a Friend Viking, and take pride in being you. Thank you.
Where do you want? Hello? So the boss asked me to tag team this thing, and when the boss says something, boss wins. We have our slides. Yeah. Can I control said slides? What if I go like, yeah? Unreal. Okay. Good afternoon, Sixth Period Writers Week. Class. Allow myself to introduce myself.
And here we go. Movie quote. Who knows it? It's because it's from the 90s. Austin Powers.
Sorry, I really had to try to channel my late 1990s self to remember some of this stuff. I'll stop. I'm Mr. Felberg, class of 2000.
And I'm Mrs. Medina, class of 2000.
Medina? Who's that? I'm still not used to that.
Yes, Davy Boy. Slide.
Went digging through the stuff last week.
Most know me by Thompson, Little Thompson, JT, J Tizzo, or Brick House after Powder Puff.
I found footage of that in the yearbook.
Actually, that is AAG, which was called Almost Anything Goes, which is not a thing here anymore.
Thank God. If you'll go to the next one. I don't know how they allowed this in school. That's my sister. Like, I don't know how this was even a thing at one point. What is she doing? Glad that's gone.
Yeah, definitely gone. And ladies, you can thank the class of 2000 for ruining Powder Puff. Now it's a lottery, not pretty much anything goes at Powder Puff.
And I think the class of 2000 is also to blame for putting an end to post-prom.
We don't need to get into
Yeah,
that. You can read old logs if you want about that.
Speaking of, if you jump ahead one more, I found this in the same issue. This, believe it or not, used to be a problem. There were sometimes students dressed inappropriately. I'm glad we've cleaned that up.
True story. In fact, she actually now owns a clothing boutique, Miss Sarah. So, yeah. But glad we never see that anymore at all.
Nope.
Yeah. Nope. No skin. All covered up here at front.
A lot of changes around here. We used to have to wear, or we didn't have to wear these lanyards with IDs. Now everyone doesn't. Okay. I got another slide here. Oh, no. Oh, back. We'll get to that. Sorry.
But yes, Writers Week.
Indeed, Writers Week, a Fremd High institution, best week of the year.
How many Writers Weeks have we experienced?
Believe it or not, our freshman year was Writers Week 2, so like, bunch of them.
Really good at math, and it's good to know some things stay the same.
Yeah, but there certainly has been a lot of changes since we came in here in the fall of '96 in our flannels and airwalks.
Yes, before we entered the building, we actually did not have that beautiful awning that everyone uses to cover themselves in rain.
Mm-mm. Bring your umbrella. Rough it.
Yes, but no one has umbrellas, Dave. Those were uncool, just like winter coats are still uncool in wintertime.
Back in the day, it was not a big deal. They actually used to give us these areas to store our things at.
Right, those are called lockers, combos, numbers. Back in our day, the big thing was to decorate a locker for your best friend's birthday to show off so the entire school knew it was your friend's birthday.
And then when you walked into the actual building itself, perhaps soaking wet, now it's like the attendance office and discipline office and Mr. Tenneper's office is there.
No.
I don't even know what was there. Like, none of that was there anymore. I don't know if they expanded the building.
I don't know what
It was
happened.
where classes, maybe? Not a
I don't
clue.
know what happened.
Not a clue.
But what has changed, you weren't bombarded by TVs right at the entrance. That's for sure.
Right, you're tripping over them these days. Back in the day, a TV was a rarity around from time.
Remember back in the day, you would walk into your English class with a 19-inch TV on a cart?
Movie day. Love a movie day. Pure joy.
Yes, and that's how you found out too, when you actually showed up to class with the rented cart in your classroom.
Right, no Schoology updates.
Nope.
Back in the day. Low tech.
No email,
Not until college.
no infinite campus.
No chance. Parents only found out how good you were doing like twice a year when they mailed home report cards.
Or bad, some of us talked a lot in class.
You didn't have the phone distraction excuse back in the day.
No, we wrote notes, and if you got caught, your teachers read the entire note in front of the class.
But I think you did have a pager, Jeff.
I did have a pager, and it was awesome. Put it right here. And if you don't know what pagers are, you page them to call you back on a phone number. But if you wanted to say emergency, you'd put 911. If you want to say love you girl, you'd put 143. And the greatest part was you got to put a song onto your pager, and I had Mariah Carey. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I
No one
actually
knows
did
Mariah
have
Carey.
a cell phone.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. Top secret, my parents made me have this phone because they wanted to be able to like keep in touch with me, but it was so embarrassing, and I would always forget to bring it out with me because my friends would be like, "What are you, a doctor? What do you need a cell phone for?"
Well, like most of the class, then we got to use a payphone, and the greatest thing about a payphone is you actually didn't get charged for it. They actually have a Geico commercial actually showing it off now, where you would use collect calling to tell your parents to come and pick you up. So, but we digress. Let's talk about the actual building and how it's changed.
Right, when you walk in, so like as you get close to the cafeteria, you're talking about the bagels?
No.
You'd smell like Great American Bagel?
No, that was a thing though. They actually used to have Great American Bagels brought to the school. Cheddar Herb was the greatest bagel alive. But I'm talking about across from the cafeteria.
The natural light, the courtyard.
Courtyard with the ducks. Yes, ducks became before us, even though in bio we were killing cats and frogs, but the ducks came first. And you would play hacky sack.
That's it. Loved it.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Science classrooms are unreal though.
Love science.
Gotta love science. Experiments and things. What else? Variety show last week. I was at Variety Show, and the two MCs were hilarious. Morgan and
here?
Joey.
Are they here?
I don't know.
No.
They were unreal though, and they were talking about, they were just appalled at the state of the bathrooms upstairs at From now.
And those were brand new in our day.
Spanking new.
Gorgeous tile.
Great tile. Amazing facility at the time. Apparently not fresh. But even at that time, it wasn't fresh. If you go to this, I had forgotten about this too. We used to have simulators. This was driver's ed, part of driver's ed. If you can't see, it's like a bunch of just consoles, and you're looking up at this like grainy projector of this 1970s suburban like tree-lined street. It's kind of unreal. It's like an arcade.
Yeah, I pretty much feared for my life.
Why? They're stationary.
Yep, no, I mean, being trained on a simulator than actually driving on a real road, it doesn't work out.
Right, no matter how you drove, obviously, because there's like 20 or 30 students looking at the same screen. So like it didn't respond to you individually. So you could wham into trees.
100 times for some people.
Put it in manual if you wanted to challenge yourself.
Yes.
I actually had Mr. Mozak as my simulator teacher. Mr. Mozak? He's walking around here somewhere.
You know what? I was just thinking about last week with the cold days, something we'll never be able to simulate.
What's that?
Cold days, snow days, days we get off.
Okay.
The archaic way that we used to find out.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal.
Yes.
Like the TV.
Yes.
Okay.
Through the TV, there actually used to be a ticker should we model it? Like what we would do? We would sit in front of the TV and you're just waiting because you didn't have internet, you didn't have robocalls, you got nothing. So you're up at 5 a.m. waiting to get school canceled and just the ticker. But if there was a commercial in the middle of the alphabet where your school is supposed to be announced.
You never knew like if they were after break going to keep going.
Yeah.
Or like start back up at the beginning of the alphabet. Agonizing.
Crushing. So many changes.
I've changed, thankfully, at least I hope. Like I said, I was going through some stuff. Yeah, this was like our Viking log senior year. I had no recollection of this till I found it on Friday. Second most likely to marry for money. What? I don't remember this at all.
And haven't found anyone obviously with a lot of money yet?
Apparently not. Not enough cash. And then a teacher who's no longer here, but my senior year English teacher, Ms. White, if you jump to this next one, she gave us this book. She had a published book, and then she gave us a letter to our senior class. One more slide. Yeah, and if you look at third way down, again, I still don't remember this, but Dave, who has a tremendous ability to verbally communicate, especially wants to set his lunch plans, and when he thinks an assignment sucks. I never remember telling teachers such things. I don't even recognize myself. Who was I? But Kurt Vonnegut tells us, boys and girls, we are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful about what we pretend to be. I wish I had read that back in high school.
Well, you're still not all that different, though, Mr. Felberg. You do get a little too excited about Frem High School cafeteria food. Slide.
Yeah. Check your pulse
This is
if you don't get
literally an
excited.
email that Mr. Grown-Up Dave Felberg still sends out to the
All the
department.
time. If you don't get excited about Fritter Day, it's the little things, boys and girls. Anything, I don't know, anything you wish you would have known back then that you know now?
Lots of things. First thing that comes to mind, Mr. Zandy, who was a math teacher here, and actually was junior year. We're almost out of time.
Yeah, we'll skip the
geez.
bump.
Oh, okay, we'll get
Roll
on to that. But the big thing is to try different things. There was always like, you have to take this class, because this class will lead to this. I wish I did more. I wish I went out of my comfort zone. I wish I would have done something beyond soccer. I just wish I tried more at the end of the day here and in college.
I think I'd go back to Writers Week 2. Young Davy Boy would be sitting right there in the front now, and I'd say, hey, buddy, cherish all these friendships you're making right now. So you're still probably going to be friends with a lot of these people 20 years from now. Who knew? I'd tell myself not to go around telling teachers that their assignments suck, for sure. I'd tell myself to be humble and see the goodness in others and yourself. I'd tell myself to accept people for who they are, where they're at, even if you're not there. And I'd say, Davy Boy, be kind to everyone. For you never know if one of these people is going to be your boss one day, right, boss? Take risks. Don't be an idiot about it, though.
Okay, one, because I know we're out of time, one thing we talk about is social skills. You can have all the grades in the world, the best grades, but if you cannot talk to another human being without your cell phone, you will not be successful.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're running out of time.
Good job,
The bags are being closed. I remember this back in Riders Day. You're so eager to get to your next class or stop listening to the people in front of you.
If someone tells you that you could have free chickens, take them. I got a chicken picture in here. I had to get that up there.
This is what adult life becomes about, is when you learn about Delilah, Bertha, and who am I missing?
Daisy.
Daisy. We're going to skip over that slide because we were long-winded. We like to talk.
Yeah, we used to write letters to companies and get free things in the mail. We'll skip that, tell you all about it later.
So we've talked, I guess, too long as it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, time to put a bow on it.
I think maybe the one takeaway from whatever it is we just did up here is to just write. We all have so much to say. It needs to be shared. Whether you're into writing stories or poetries or just silly emails, whatever it might be, I think sometimes we forget or don't even realize the impact that our words can have on others. I mean, if you think about it, we're just arranging these symbols on a sheet of paper, but in so doing, you can have someone else live your experience if you're descriptive enough. You could take people on an adventure, make them laugh, make them cry. So put pen to paper, share your story. Mm-hmm. And should we conclude?
I wish we had actual letters to show you that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transitional
let's conclude.
phrase?
Transitional phrase. We all love
To
them.
conclude.
In conclusion.
Summation.
Anywho.
We need
to end it.
Yeah, fine. As much as, changed, a lot has stayed the same. Be unreal. Go forth and shed beauty and light.